Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Dahmer vs. Gacy. The two most infamous mass murderers battle for the top spot.
Directed by Ford Austin, starring Peter Zhmutski, Bonnie Aarons, and our two serial killers, Randal Malone as John Wayne Gacy and Ford Austin as Jeffrey Dahmer. This movie's about a secret government facility that are doing experiments to create serial killers as a new form of warfare. So they're cloning serial killers over and over again to create the ultimate version of them. They've got Manson, they've got Bundy, but in this film we're focusing on Gacy and Dahmer. This movie is actually recommended to us from our monthly movie raffle over on Patreon, the More Few longtime supporter of the channel. I was warned over and over again that you need to be really drunk for this one, so I did my best. I did my very best. I drank tons of beers, and I don't think it was enough. I think you need to be really, really high for this one, if I'm being honest. Hey, we're at the mercy of you guys. Thank you for supporting on Patreon. If you guys are interested, check it out in the links. Otherwise, we're getting onto the likes.
I liked Hal Anderson, our news reporter. Whenever he was on, it was actually entertaining. He was cracking jokes, he was interested in what was happening. He had some good one-liners, so as a news reporter, I think he did a good job.
And the fact that most of this movie are basically news reports between him and his infield correspondent. They did a pretty decent job going back and forth. I think they both did a pretty decent job, and they were more fun segments for sure.
I think these serial killers are incredible. I haven't seen good old-fashioned carnage like this in years.
I guess this is a like. I thought it was kind of cool to have the nun herself, Bonnie Aarons, back in 2010 in this weird low-budget movie, who's now in a multi-million-dollar production. It was in this. I like seeing Alyssa Dowling. I would say that she's the actress that's been in more movies than anyone else total that we've ever reviewed.
How about I give you a little head?
Sure. How about if I just take yours?
I guess I like the concept. The concept is fun. You know, Dahmer versus Gacy. What would happen? Are they gonna kill each other or are they gonna fuck each other? That's why I like horror. You can do basically anything you want and see what happens. Unfortunately, this wasn't a very fun movie, so I think we should head right on into our dislikes. This movie was boring as hell.
Like Jay said earlier, this is really just the news broadcast doing these little segments, and we don't actually get to see a real showdown between Dahmer and Gacy.
Oh, come on. They are definitely playing night crawlers or something on the floor.
What is it?
It's what it sounds like.
What it sounds like is that you two crawl around like worms in the night.
When we started, and especially even looking at the cover, you're like, oh, this is gonna be like Monster Brawl or something. Serial killers are gonna fight each other. Especially when they built them up and they're like, oh, we've cloned them over and over again to be the most fearsome killers.
Let me put it bluntly for you. The original killers were pussies compared to these reproductions.
I don't think so.
You didn't even get to see them kill people. It was more the news broadcasters saying
a man was brutally murdered downtown today.
I know this is really looking for plot holes in the movie called Dahmer vs. Gacy, but I'm pretty sure when you clone something, as we've seen with sheep and shit, they start as baby embryos and they form their own new ideas, maybe looking the same, having similar genetic codes, but they wouldn't know I'm gonna be a clown today.
Unless
25 years later, 50 years later. How old is this guy?
I got it. The 6th day. That's what they're basing this cloning off of. They're taking the memories and putting it in these already adult-sized bodies. You got to check under the eyelids to see if you got the clone stamp.
What is this?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, the 6th day.
That sounds like a great time.
A human was cloned. That human was you.
The 6th day was one of Arnold's best films, in my opinion.
Last Action Hero, easy.
Well, Jingle All the Way had Sinbad.
Okay, but anyway, they just have all these bigger boys that kind of look like Gacy now? They've been having a field and they're planting all these little embryos all over the fucking lab and they're just okay. He's a good 6 feet, 275. He's ready to ship out. Send him some memories.
I also didn't understand the Ringo part. As cool as it is to have Harlan Williams be the voice of God.
Take the gun out of your mouth. Get up so we can talk about this, Ringo.
They just build this guy up to go and take down the serial killers. And they have him do this quest. But he goes into the desert and digs up a samurai sword and then takes down some ninjas, has like a weird, shitty montage of fighting ninjas, and it doesn't, none of it matters. It happens to be the same guy who actually is playing Jeffrey Dahmer, by the way, who is also the director. He's just wearing a lot of hats and a lot of mustaches and glasses and wigs. He didn't need to exist at all. It was completely irrelevant. The problem had solved itself by the time he showed up anyway.
Yeah, because we had X-13.
The super killer will not hesitate when it comes to destroying enemy soldiers.
Which, again, stupid, pointless killer.
Not a big fan of the corn cob killer?
Not a big fan of the corn cob killer. If he was called the corn cob killer, and his whole purpose was to kill people with his corned cob, or
that
his cob
sounds like
corn.
a fucking dick you're talking about.
In this movie, I would expect nothing less.
You're right.
There was tons of really bad gay jokes in this film.
What about another shot, stranger?
Sure, I can get you another one. Take it all, bitch.
Sometimes you can appreciate, like, okay, yeah, you're crossing a line, but that's funny. This movie was garbage at doing it.
I'm Rob, your neighbor from next door. I'm Dan. I started baking my famous fruit tart.
I think we already got enough fruit tarts in here.
It's so fucking cringy, like most of this movie.
And they keep saying, like, who's the better killer? Who's gonna have the higher kill count? Nobody really knows their motives.
Who are these killers? And what is their motive?
Because the only purpose they established was they wanted to kill the doctor. So they needed to find him. And to do so, they needed to leave the lab they were created in where the doctor worked to go to his house. 0 cents. He was there when they escaped. They left to go find him. We could have saved this entire movie if Dahmer and Gacy did not leave the lab.
This is the kind of movie that would have lent itself to fun animated things like in the corner, like, oh, one for Gacy, one for Dahmer. So that there's some kind of like element of a battle here. There's nothing to suggest that they were after each other in the slightest. They just happened to stumble upon each other at some point in time. I kind of forgot another like, but I'm not moving it over there. I don't care enough about this movie to fucking edit this properly. Randal Malone did a decent job as Gacy. I'll be honest, I absolutely hated his guts when we watched Don't Look in a Cellar. What a shitty movie that was. We absolutely hated it. And as we're going through IMDb before we did this, it was like, wait, 90% of the cast was in that stupid movie. So overall, this movie is just like super, super boring. There's no real verses going on here. It's not a good film. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This movie absolutely blows. There's no hiding it. This is trash. We didn't even touch on like a lot of the stuff that made this movie really bad, but the main point is that it was super boring. It was really poorly edited. Any kills that you saw, it was just like jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, cross dissolve, cross dissolve. The editing was absolutely atrocious. The whole idea between Dahmer versus Gacy is strong. I think there could be something there. However, this movie was not the right way to convey that story.
It is perhaps the mysteriousness of these killers that is responsible for their growing popularity.
On top of that, it's not even like fun enough to make fun of. We were genuinely just bored to tears sitting on the couch like, okay, come on, fade to black, fade to black. Because if this wasn't for Patreon, I would have shut this shit off. Easy mode. Not a lot of redeeming things. There were some fun cameos and stuff like that, but in general, not worth watching. That's why we talked so much about it. So I'm gonna give this 0.5 how I look on a Saturday afternoon out of 5.
With the title and concept of this film, you have high hopes. You hope it's something like Freddy vs. Jason. You just want two people to show down. You want Monster Brawl. You want to see Dahmer and Gacy just go at each other one-on-one. You actually want to see them fight, kick, punch.
It's all in the mind. If you want to test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach ya. Sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher. Now kick.
Anything. Use a weapon. Don't really care what it is. They just need to do something. Instead, they have a verbal conflict, and then they share a kill, and then they roll around on the ground. And it's boring.
It's true.
It's so boring. The humor is not there. All of the jokes fall flat. Anyone who watches this movie is probably going to be bored because of how it's paced and how it's shot and how it's edited. Nothing about this film is that enjoyable. I mean, Hal Anderson is an enjoyable character, but again, you're not here to watch a news reporter cover two people having a showdown. You want the showdown, you want the gore, you want the kills, you want the humor. You don't get it in this. Just go watch something else. I'm being serious here. Go watch Don't Look in the Cellar or Alice in Murderland.
Are you joking?
Dead serious. I'm throwing it. There's babes in those.
Fine.
So with that being said, to no surprise, I'm going to give this film 0.5 former Lollipop Guild members turned mime out of 5.
I personally hate mimes.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend some bullshit movie for us to review, or better ones, ideally, check out the Patreon link in the description where you can join our monthly movie raffle. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.